My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
Hello, Night Nation. It is Josh Lazar here, and I am not on the screen, but there I am. Hey, everyone. It is Josh Lazar here with the Knighted Ones, and welcome to the Knighted Ones podcast. This is episode 92. 92. It's been a lot. We're about 8 weeks away, maybe a little less because something might be happening this week. To 100. We are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion who is not here, a former UCF radio host who is not here, an ESPN analyst and hoops player who is not here, an infamous rapper, and a resident influencer who probably not here. Isn't here now. Maybe he'll pop in. We'll see what happens. And IG Shar. And usually we're shooting the breeze, talking UCF sports. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, before we do this, I have to do that, smash that subscribe button and like and follow us on YouTube, IG, wherever you can find us on socials, and check out the 70 teams or 70 plus teams on the conference on the college huddle. We also have the Big 12 huddle. Fourth in Florida, which I will tell you, Fourth in Florida is a phenomenal name, and we'll always say that, a great podcast name, and our new live stream, which is happening right now. So as you can see, it's me, Josh. I'm solo dolo today, and what we're going to be doing is a little bit different. Oh, we're 93. Thank you. We do have we do have Rogers on the side for 1 second. It's great that we have the top of the notes that say 91, inside the notes that say 92. And because I had to do all the notes, here's the backspace, here's the 3. This is number 93, and you might get 94 also this week too. I'll talk about that at the end. So it's solo dolo Josh today, and what we're going to talk about is the media days, because the UCF, Scott Frost, some players all did some amazing things out in Frisco, Texas, talking about UCF, talking about the Big 12, expectations, things about the team. And there's some things that I haven't really seen yet on socials from some of this, and we might try to play with some media today to see if we could do some of this live. We're going to try out some new stuff, because guess what? No one's here to mute me or stop me, as Roger probably pops in. If you want to comment or put anything on the comments, I knew Roger was still there, was going to mute my mic. I love that. But, if you do it, dead air. And we had some good dead air conversations last week after the show. Maybe I'll put that in at the end. So, media days. Media days started today for the Big 12. And there will be more teams talking tomorrow in media days. But Scott Frost had a lot to say during media days, and of course we had our hashtag content team doing a lot of things behind the scenes too, with tons of videos and shots and things of the players. But what went on to ESPN Plus was a lot of the other media day experiences, including an interview with Scott Frost and an interview with Miles Montgomery. I'm going to start with the interview with Scott Frost, and he had a couple different interviews, with the quote, the team, at the media days, with, I don't know. I don't remember the guys on the top of my head. I'm not even going to lie. I'd have to go scroll back for that. But when he was chit-chatting with the team there and talking about UCF, there's a lot of great things here. And I think, if you haven't heard all these, I'm not going to play them all back. I'm going to try to do that for Miles Montgomery, which had some great ideas there, but there was some bangers of quotes. So some of these are going to be direct. Some of these are going to be paraphrased. They talked a lot about coming back. And we'll get into that, but we talked about the 68 to 70 new people he has on the team. which is just mind-boggling. Might be the most in the Big 12. They joked about that a little bit. But one of the things that he said that I believe UCF fans are going to be excited about, and paraphrasing, is that he is not anointing a QB. They got to earn it. This probably isn't a direct reference to the some of the previous years of QB experiences and selections here at UCF. But what I will say, and even if it is lip service, it's lip service that I think UCF fans need and want to hear. They don't want to feel like someone gets a huge NIL contract and they come back in and there you go, Jackson's quarterback, right? You want people to get pushed. And true, this could all be, leveraging media to make the competition as fierce as possible to bring out the most in everyone or someone. And I feel like there's probably a little bit of that. But on the grander scale, I like the fact that it's not just being handed to someone. I like the fact that there's competition and no one, as Coach Frost is saying, no one is like risen to the top, and he's looking for that more than likely when everyone gets back into camp and through the beginning of the season. Probably we might not even know this till August, which is next month at this point. So this is good for everyone, right? It shows that the best people are going to play. It shows that competition in everything is something that Scott Frost wants. And Miles Montgomery talks about that a little bit too later in that segment. These are wonderful things. I feel like, it seems like a lot of UCF fans saw KJ and knew what was happening, even though some of us saw him in practice and had questions, right? And truth be told, and we talk about this on the show a bit, second half TCU, KJ and team, if we had that for like the rest of the year, we would have a different conversation now. But we didn't. So not anointing QBs. They have to earn it. And truth be told, I'm sure that's across the board. Like any competition, any position is going to have that competition. And personally, I love that. And maybe you don't. If you have some questions, comments, feedback, feel free to throw that in. Without Rogers on the side, I know Rogers had a long day working. He's on the comments over here. I am not saying, okay, geez. So now I have multiple people, and I don't know if they're both Roger. So no, I'm not saying the QBs that we have are all mediocre. What I'm saying is, what Coach Frost has said is that no one has risen to the top to be definitively better than the other two within this group of like 3 QBs that he's talking about. His words, no one's risen to the top. And to me, that means one of two things. He's using the media and putting a message out there to compete and prove it and push someone towards that alpha role, to that number one spot. Or this is all truth, complete truth. And we have like Ja'Cory Brown, killing it, and Jackson maybe not living up to potential, and whomever it is. That's where I feel like this is either leveraging that to push them harder or just the pure truth. So that's just from Coach Frost's words. Yes, I did see KJ at Waffle House. Yes, I did. And, well, that's the thing. It seems like KJ was anointed. He got 4 shots, more than 4 shots. Yeah, he had more than 4 shots. And, Roger thinks that's coach speak. I'm sure it is. But do I think Scott Frost knows who's going to be his number one quarterback right now? I would say probably, but not definitively. I think he's leaving at least a little bit more open for something to potentially happen. Who knows? But I think I think at this point, and no, Roger, it wasn't mail directly into his veins. It was a to-go order, and he left his car similar to yours just sitting outside, turned on. So that was fun too. So anyway, got to go to the future, not the past. So some other things that I really liked from Scott Frost's conversations. He he said he was, pretty much blessed to be have an opportunity with LA Rams and learn under McVay. And he had a small note in a one sentence, like a part of one sentence, that said that he might be bringing some of the things that that the innovative mind of McVay might be coming with him because he's learned a few things. So I kind of like that because multiple reasons. One, anyone who's not just set on their book and their principles and what they do all the time and is unwilling to change them going forward isn't evolving. Also, we also have the internal ideologies, the way I work and the way I do things and the way I teach my daughter, right? I just do one step better, one thing more, do a little bit better, learn a little bit further, gain more knowledge, and do some amazing things. And that seems to be part of what Coach Frost is doing here. He's he has the things he wants to work on. He has the type of culture and personnel that he specifically wants to talk about that in just a second. But he's taking all these things and like this, the Rolling Stone gathering moss downhill, right? Gaining that momentum, doing innovative things, and probably sticking to most of his guns, but with enough tweaks to go, oh, that's interesting. And Roger got my subtle, but I'm excited. Like, do I think we're getting UCF fast and UCF fierce this year? I'd love to see it. I mean, to me, I'd love nothing more than have defenses that are attacking the ball and not giving up 7 to 10 yard cushions on like soft coverage. And forget bend don't break, just like being soft. I'm not saying you have to be overly aggressive, but just attack a little. Just, if the personnel can handle it, be sound on defense, be fundamentally sound. And we'll let Roger and Trey talk about that fundamentally later in the year because they'll know quick. So yeah, that I would love to see. And on offense, I'm open. I'm open to seeing what we have seen in the past plus other things together. Yeah, it's going to be. I wouldn't say if 2017 was 2.0, this might be 2.2. Like, it might not be that far off, but with enough wrinkles and enough new concepts. In doing it, we have 2 great games to make sure we can get all of our calls in, that people know what they're supposed to be doing, to run the right routes, to set up the offensive line knows where the proper blocking schemes are. Like, we have a little bit of time to make sure that what has been installed and what has been practiced can translate effectively. Then we see how fast we can go. Roger saying 26 Raiders lower on offense, and D, will they be better? It's interesting because there's so much newness here. There's new players, there's new coaches. And typically in the past, you would have to kind of case in point. Trey is a good case in point. In all that 2015 team, the O'Leary work ethic and the O'Leary way of things was still ingrained in a lot of these young men. And that imprint didn't leave. And Trey talked about this. You can see it. That imprint didn't leave, nor did the players, because they really couldn't. And they could, but they didn't just all disappear. So you have that mentality. And some of the things that we'll talk about with Miles coming up in a bit. The Frost, we've all seen him. We all kind of know him. You get Frost with the imprinted fundamentals and a lot of the accountability and other things. Not saying that Frost didn't have those things, but we all know George O'Leary too, unless you're a very young UCF fan. And if not, read some articles or ask Trey the next time we're on the show and pop up into the comments of the chat. These were 2 different coaches and 2 different styles. And amazingly enough, this might be happening again albeit the prior coaching staff did not have that same did not seem to imprint the things that were really good from O'Leary that time over to Frost this time. I'm not sure if the Gus bus is imprinting things that we want to translate over. And honestly, doesn't matter because only about 40 kids left from that. So, Roger said he saw Frost at Bar Louie. I wonder if that was back first time around because he was a frequent visitor. So Frost from Media Days, lots of wonderful things. Love that he's bringing new concepts with him, and he's Roger has grown businesses and has a couple and has worked in a lot of them. I've been growing a business over the last 2.5 years too, and doing that. I started in my 40s. I'll be honest. I think Roger probably started a little bit earlier than that. Quote, "You can't do anything alone," unquote, is a phenomenal quote. It's a quote of someone who's had experience, who has knowledge, and realizes that being solo, you can in some aspects of business or coaching in life, but really you can't do it. You can't do anything well alone. You have to have a team. You have to trust your team. You have to believe in your team. You have to empower your team. And while there are people who, a very few that can go alone when it comes into coaching, and I've coached bowling, right? I'm not going to say I know what it is to be a coach of a college football team, but I've coached bowling, and even on a 5-person Baker team, you still have to understand things and talk to others about the mentality and where people are and how they're bowling on a certain lane and pattern this. And I won't go into bowling that deep, but you need to know who your anchor is. You need to know who your 5 and 10 frame is. And you need to understand how they've been bowling on the practice lanes before they get into the match to figure out if you're messing with your lineup or not, which might mess with their head. And all that stuff takes not just your own eyes. You need some help. Not 400 coaches, but you need a little help with other people who know these kids and know these athletes. In football, I love that he realizes this, and I'm sure he realized it before, but like knowing it and saying it and believing it are completely separate things. And I love that he has this mentality. Like, he knows he's building a team. He knows he's the captain of the ship, but he probably is someone that knows that the ship is going to go, the ship will be best righted and will have the best path forward when working together as a team at the coaching staff level. Definitely at the at the other level. And Roger is saying that, yeah, late 30s for Roger, which is interesting because Coach Frost is kind of in that same frame, right? Like, he doesn't own a team. Like, he owns a business, but right, coaching is, you're still being paid by an employer, quote unquote. But for all intents and purposes, college football head coach is a pseudo owner of a business. I'd say there's definitely enough parallels. And he gets started in his like late 30s, early 40s, about the same time Roger and I have. And he's learning these lessons. And I don't think he's learning these lessons because he went to a place and took the wrong job. We'll talk that quote in a second. But that's a part of his career arc, if you will, his business arc. And he's learned things from others. He's learned things from other coaches. He's learned things internally about himself and his family and who he is. That shows a level of maturity that is great to imprint on football teams, on kids or young men, but younger than me and Roger. And he could do it in a way that has that learned wisdom from experience, both as a player and as a coach, and going through his coaching experience. And he could relate a lot. He's more relatable probably than I am, but he's definitely relatable to the staff. All right, so another couple of interesting quotes. Scott's 50 and was 42 in 2017. Guess what? I'm telling you, late 30s, early 40s. So he was 41 when he got here in 20. Maybe he's 40 when he got actually here, and then he was 41 when it was 2016 when he started. That's what I'm saying. When you own it, And I mean that by like your name's on the line, your business name is on the line, it's tied to you as a person. That's when things seem to change that I have learned so far in my couple years of doing this. And Roger has been learning that for longer than me. That is a different feeling when you're responsible for people. When you're this now he's responsible for people and their not directly their paychecks, but a little bit more than that beyond the coaching staff. It's a whole weird part, but you get this different sense of how things should be done, and you learn and you grow as you learn and grow and owning a business or being a head coach or being in charge of something where people are reliant on you. And you can't do it alone is phenomenal. Like that's a great it's the reason that I have employees and I'm paying a bunch of people. It's the reason Roger builds companies with other people. It's not just all him, and has people that are working for those companies too. So it's just a good, when I heard that, it's assuring that he's seen some things that we've seen and other people have seen, and he's growing in that ideology, which I love. So we're talking about 2017. He said something about this is an interesting quote. He said something about 2017 setting up the Big 12 invite. Okay. We all, UCF fans, we all know that. There was also a quote. If there are any other changes to come, we need to be in position. We need to be positioned in the right place. And I'd say about the quote. It was kind of like a sideline, and then he went right into something else. A little more Big 12-ish. Now, is that a throwaway line in the middle of a stream of conscience of talking about, where we are and where we want to be in the future? Probably. Does he know something that we don't? I would say probably. My guess is probably not. But I don't want to just take that as a throwaway line because that's not our job here, right? I believe the illusion is to, if, say the Big Ten or the SEC expand or some other change happens. Like we're already seeing this with Texas State joining the Pac-12 or whatever you want to call them now. I'm assuming they're keeping the name because they did all this other stuff, but things have been changing. I don't think there's been more than 1 or 2 years of a change of a team to another conference or moving up to FBS or something like that since the 80s. I remember we talked about this a year or so ago, and I think there was like 1 or 2 years where nothing has changed, which is astonishing. Like we're in 2025 now. We're talking probably, I think it was something like between 20 and 30 years. Like every year someone has changed something. I don't know when it's going to be, but if there is another move if there is an expansion of the Big Ten or the SEC, or if there's a consolidation of the ACC and the Big 12 or something like that, we want to make sure we want to be in the best place and hitting on all cylinders in lots of areas. Quote, if there are any changes to come. I'm going to assume it's just a throwaway quote in a stream of conscience, but he's not wrong. 2017 and other stuff. 2013 also set this up, which set up 2017. Even 2018 was still phenomenal, and we all have our what ifs about KZ not getting hurt the way he did, or us not knocking Joe Burrow into next year into the national championship in the next year. Like there's all kinds of what ifs of 2018, but still a phenomenal year. Coach Heupel did a great job of what was going on there. So we haven't seen that. And I know no reasonable person should expect 2017 this year. And we might not see that again in the foreseeable future unless we get a few more billionaires or we get the salary cap, which Scott Frost did talk about in media days in some way, shape, or form. And that could possibly make things helpful, or getting equal funding from conferences, whatever. Maybe there's difference, but we should do everything possible with eyeballs, with NIL, with the play on the field, expanding that. to basketball too. Finally, maybe we'll see. Basketball isn't really moving the needle. Well, it's not moving the needle for UCF. Every single dollar that we can is going to be put into football. We all know this. We're here in the South. It is what is the dominant sport. I grew up in the Northeast. Was not the dominant sport, and that's why people laugh when we get the number one player out of Connecticut. So, or top 10. So, I'm sure it's a throwaway line, but why does he say it? I'm hoping when the guys get back, and maybe we'll talk about this again, if there are any other changes to come, we need to be in a position ourselves in the right place. Like, that is a line that I don't know why people aren't blowing up, versus another line that we'll talk about after the things that we've talked about on the show being validated. Two things being validated. So Scott Frost talked about Florida recruits and how they can come back if they fit what we need, which is great. We got a softball recruit coming back to Florida, and I know it's going to be in the stuff that Alan doesn't care about. And I'll get I'll say it appropriately. That will be in the quick update on other UCS sports that Alan does not watch. But it's true. We want specific people, and we want specific types of people to come back and feel welcome. And that's, and even Scott Frost was saying that, there's other things with revenue and NIL and all that stuff going on, but that is something that we should all appreciate. And we know if we put a moat around Florida and we get as many people as we can to come here, and even take some from LSU. I'll explain why I said LSU in the other section of UCS sports. FSU, Miami, Miami, UF. If we can make sure we keep some of those here, maybe we even take them right now from Ole Miss. That's happening, which is wonderful, which we talked about last week. Then we could do some amazing things. Now, who are we going to take? And this is the most definitive this is the most definitive thing that kind of validates everything we've talked about, which we knew. We just didn't. I don't think he was ever said explicitly like this. Coach Frost is specifically talking about recruits, any recruit, but definitely people coming back to Florida who fit the scheme, the character, and the culture that they want to see in players. And even though Roger was saying Gus blamed funding and was going to retire and all this stuff, you know what? Truth be told, he was. I'm going to go back and then go forward. There are 4 Central Florida high school football coaches who have left their positions within the last month and a half. And they have basically stated, because of the transfer rules in high school football here in Florida, that they do not want to participate in one way, shape, or form. And a few of them already moved up to Georgia, where they make a ton more money. I'm friends with one, not of those 4, but I'm friends with a local high school football coach, and I haven't talked to him about that. I might have to talk to him about on the side of that. And let me explain why this ties into this. I think the similar reason that Gus is no longer a head coach right now isn't because he doesn't change his scheme to match his personnel, which it seems possibly. I'm not a football coach, but a casual observer that knows a little bit, there was some things wrong here, right? Maybe it was money and funding. He's not wrong there, but you need to know your audience and you need to know what tools you have. And we were just not going to have Auburn level tools and money, or Oregon, or SMU. We just can't. We don't have multiple billionaires who can write off a couple mil, 10 mil, and not think about it. As a famous poet once said, "What's 50 grand to me? Can you please remind me?" We don't have that money at all. So knowing what you do have and knowing what resources you have available to you, the concept of making select additions to your team that fit the scheme you're running and we talked about this multiple times. We're getting our short, small running backs again, right? The previous AKs and future roles like that. Like the setup of the team is feeling a little more familiar. The character, and I will say this: character's always been a thing for me. It's not people get in trouble. They're young men. Young people do sometimes get in trouble. Sometimes they do silly things. That's been going on from probably time on end. At this point, character means more than just are you going to be, and I'm remembering the video that just came out recently, are you going to be borrowing a car that happens to have unregistered or unlicensed firearm in the back and bottles of liquor that are open in the trunk, and you're under 21, right? Like that's some of those things happen, right? I don't want to deny, like, people do things in college. Character to me means more towards the, who you are and how you represent yourself and how you work through those things. Like, my guess is if someone has some issues in life and is working to correct those, I don't think that is different than someone that just completely slacks off and doesn't do the things they need to get to do whatever I'm trying to say this in a clean way. If you get in trouble for something and you don't do the things to get off of probation, or you get arrested and you get your charges expunged, or those type of things, and you don't do the things that make whatever your situation is whole, that to me could be a character issue from a collegiate football player perspective. And that's still life too. So I'm not sure exactly what his judgment of character is, but he has one. And we're going to be seeing that in the people that come in. And, again, things are probably going to happen. It is still, 100 some odd people with now a lot of money, some of them, and they're still college age men. Some of them are probably boys. That is something he wants to focus on, and I think most fans want to see that. I want high character, or at least high accountability of anyone I work with or work for or hire. He's trying to do the same thing. I love that in some way, shape, or form, right? He has his own judgment of character, and that's good. And culture is also a huge thing. And culture, again, he has his own cultural fit, but we've seen some of this, and I will tell you, this culture already is being imprinted on the team. It comes with, when you listen to Miles Montgomery. I'll play Miles. I'm going to try to do something new. I'm going to try to play Miles Montgomery's interview and see if you can pick out what cultural things and what character things he's trying to impart on someone who should be one of the leaders, if not maybe a captain of the team. I love that all the things we've seen by just the recruits that are coming on board, how, what dual sport athletes, specific frames and types and sizes of offensive linemen and running backs and all that. We all knew it fits something that we thought was true. And he's validated that a lot. And what made the top 10 on three rivals, I don't know what they're called, on three, they have this like top 10 things, notes of the day or whatever. Fires shot at Nebraska. Yeah, fire shot at Nebraska is the number 4 of the top 10 on 3, and that was with Chris Vanini's tweet, which now has 1.4 million views and 263 replies on X. That don't take the wrong job. Don't take the wrong job. Okay, this is another amazing quote, and I'm sure he both meant it and didn't mean it in the ways we're all expecting. He said he wouldn't leave any place for any place that he couldn't win a national championship. And he was being pulled towards his alma mater, and we all kind of saw what happened. We're not we we hear or see games. We know what happened. And there was some family pull and a lot of other things. And let's be fair, he made generational money on that, and he could be making that in other places too. But he made a lot of money. He tried as hard as he could. I truly don't know. I observed from afar. Trey could probably provide some insights on some pieces of that. And maybe that's a good a note for another conversation this week if Trey is not in ablations or some other medical procedure. He is 100% right. And this is definitely something that I've learned over time. Um, Sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. Sometimes the money is not worth the roll. Sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. And those things held true. And Scott Frost considers him lucky to be able to come back to a place he feels like home. His firstborn child was born here. His wife seems to feel and grew up in there. Neither grew up in Orlando. Let's be fair. Based in Arizona, but she feels like it's home here. And the same things that they appreciated of the fans and the donor sponsors, the athletic department, seem to be the same things back and even expanded in his multi-year absence, or like 8 years, or yeah, something like that. This is why he wanted to come back. Other than getting getting invigorated by working with the LA Rams, he knew once he got the call, this is what he wanted. And perhaps that's also coach speak. I don't know. I don't believe that. There's a personal story, and real quick, there was a organization that I absolutely loved working at, and I saw some things going on where I felt there was some winds of change, and I decided to kind of bail before things happened. I was right. Things did happen. New job was it was making like 50 grand more than I was making before, and I wasn't there that long. It wasn't the right fit. The grass wasn't green on the other side. I loved what they did. There wasn't just a match, with the role I was in and with the owner of the organization, who's a wonderful woman. There was just seems not to be the right fit. And what's amazing is that through another way, I'm actually working with that organization again. And guess what? I love it. So I understand this coming back. He's doing the direct role. I'm not. But coming back to something you absolutely enjoyed and you thrived in, and you did probably some of the best work in your career in. I have a very, very direct story on that. I know what those feelings feel like. So I completely understand that sentiment. Although Coach Frost is making a ton more than I did working with that company, or just in different fields. So I love that. And so, yeah. And Roger saying that oil make mistakes, but he made that money, and it's true. It's now different with NIL, and I agree. And Nebraska has some money. They're not, and that fan base. I have some people that I work with who are CEOs that are fans of Nebraska. It is fierce, and I love that. I love a basically a state just surrounding themselves with the enjoyment of a humongous university and just being diehard for it. I that's we don't have that at UCF, but we have a pretty core diehard fan base. They're just not like 90,000 deep. So yeah, I feel like that was a phenomenal take. And the reason I think it's a phenomenal take, not that it's really shots fired at Nebraska. I don't think that was neither the tension nor what I took from it. He's trying to provide insight that a lot of us have felt and have seen, depending on how you've worked and lived your life, and don't say out loud. Like, I don't actively think, I shouldn't have taken that job. I don't. but I'm happy working with that organization again. And that's kind of where I feel like this is all related to. Like he's now, if we go an over, we might have another conversation. But here's the true thing: I think the way he's building things, the way he's trying to get these new team members to gel, new coaches to gel, like we've seen part of the story before, and we know how it can work when you're working together, when you're competing every day, when you're doing all these things together as a team. It works. Ask Trey. Will it be different in NIL? Yes, and I feel like if you can do it in this NIL world, it's going to be better. It might make people sticky if you can pay a reasonable amount. Make Lee Hunter money going off the Texas Tech, okay. But I believe that you don't leave good managers as long as the money is close. And if you have a good camaraderie, we might get more stickiness with the team if we can fund it appropriately. So I'm excited about all that. So Scott, that was Scott Frost, and we're 40 minutes deep. Jeez, I did not expect that to be this long. So that's okay. I'm not going to speed up. We have Miles Montgomery, and we're going to try something new. Bear with me. I appreciate it. I'm going to see if I can present. I might have to share my whole screen. Let me see how this works. I'm going to try to share my screen. Will let me do a tab. It will let me do a tab. Yes. But of course, they want to do an Edge, and I had to set it up on something else. Let me see how we could do this. A window. Let's see if I can find my window. We're talking through this. You would be surprised that I am a technologist. So, hey, we're doing things live. I'm not going to Bill O'Reilly it, but I did set up this really cool clip where, it's just on. Okay, I see where it is now. Let's see if we can get it. We're going to do something new. I got the video. We're going to share. We're going to try this. And I don't see it on the side. We might have to. Oh, I wonder if Roger has to throw this in here. Let's. We'll see what happens. Because I think there's a thing I don't have access to because I'm presenting, but I don't think you can see it. Playing picture in picture. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to see what happens. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to try to bring up this. What we have over here. This is if you're seeing this, look, what's going to happen is Roger's going to pop back and go, Josh, what are you doing? What I'm going to do is I am going to play a little bit of Miles Montgomery's interview, and there's a couple things I already have I have poked out over here in my notes, but I'm really intrigued to see if you catch some things I did. Okay, I'm going to try to see if we can get this one here. So let's try it. And if it fails miserably, I will blame Roger. No, I won't. And Noah's not is feeling well either today. So let's do this. We got everything I need set up. I'm going to play this. It should be picture in picture for you. If anyone's in the chat, you can help me out with that. See what we got. Now, if he would have said UCF down to the socks, I would have had a lot of props for that. That was my there's hip hop references everywhere, but like I love this is it's almost like a mini version of it's almost like a mini version of the NFL draft and those type of things. Now, the reality is that it's not that level, but again, these men are getting paid. They have time to do some tailoring. So, I like the name on the cuff. It's a nice little look. Um, I like the UCF socks. Rock them. If you're listening, this I'm assuming they were Rock'em socks. They should be. And if they're not, you know how to get to the team. I don't know how to tell you how to do your business. I did like the nice custom interior though. That's pretty nice. Of course, I'm gonna get to a video. So I'm hoping this is streaming live so I can go right to the skip and go, okay, 2 things. 1, we missed I think it was you I played it back. We missed that the cut was to Golden Knights player, and I haven't seen, the, social medias blow up on that yet. So, we'll see. So that's 1. 2, we have some Central Floridas. I don't think we all care about that as much, but the Golden Knights really, I went, ooh, we're going to hear a lot about that, but we'll see what happens. So Nitro pops in for a nice little visit too. He was actually, it's pretty fun. It was funny when they started the UCF segment. They had Nitro behind the camera, and they were making jokes that the best shot of the day because they actually frame it right, which I did like. Okay, we talked about the fit and who we're looking for at UCF. Now, Miles was already on the team, and he was a foregone conclusion to be RB1, RB2. Depending if we're doing like if we're bowling like Jonathan Davis back in the day, or if we're doing more AK Otis type work, which is probably where we're going. Scheme, I don't think there'll be a problem there. Character and culture. Miles is even admitting that he didn't know he had this leadership in him, and he wasn't the most vocal person on the team. And let me clear. RJ Harvey was probably the most vocal person on that in that running back room, but he's off making money, and Miles might be next year too. But now he's becoming a leader and taking it in stride. Do I think that could have happened in either coaching staff? Yes. Let's be fair here, but this is also the type of people that Coach Ross wants on the team. Like the this is your room. This you should be this leader. Act like it, try it, emulate it, ask me questions, like those type of things. So we're kind of seeing that live within this interview too, which I thought was kind of interesting. Got to stop it there. Okay, there's more to that statement. I'm going to get that. And I'm sure when Coach Frost was introduced, everyone on the team was probably watching some 27, 16, and 17 tape. And if you're running back in that room and you see how you're using Juice and AK and all that, yeah, you should be optimistic, right? It's good having a younger coach. To me, that really I know he says this, but it's what comes after, which I think is more important. I'll age ain't nothing but a number, but listen to what he says afterwards. It's not just the youth. You can relate to him more. He's kind of like us. He has swagger to him. He's a good dude. please do not take all this to state that other coaches were not all of that. And this is what's coming out of a leader of this team. The way I interpret that, it's not a diss to Gus and that coaching staff. It's the reality of what we've seen with Coach Frost, back in the day. It's probably, if Trey was on here, I'm sure he would say similar things. Might still say him. And he actually sums it up with something that is something you saw at the beginning of this clip and you probably didn't pay attention to. But when I started watching these clips, I did and went, yeah, but they weren't a $30,000 pair. He has a suit on and some Jordans, and you want to play for a guy like that. This is the culture. This is the character. This is what we're looking for. This is what Coach Frost is looking for. And I haven't really seen this dissected or broken down at all. But we all know a lot of this. The people who've been around this program, been talking about this program, definitely other players of the United Ones, more so than I have. But we know this. We've seen this. I think someone even made a comment I saw somewhere on Twitter or somewhere, I don't know, X somewhere, that when he came over to his press conference, he had like a set of $3,000 J's on, and truth be told, not only was it J's, it was low-rise socks and almost a high-water pant, which is a in thing, which I don't get, but I am not that cool as I wear very soft, specific clothing. Thank you. Sponsored by Peter Millar. No, I'm kidding. But not. We need a sponsorship. We should get that. All right. So I think this is about the end of the broadcast, but I want to point out that everything Coach Frost has been saying, we want scheme, character, and culture fits. Need to build leaders. We know what the scheme fits and looks like. If you've seen our team before, back then, Miles Montgomery's pretty plug and play. He's becoming a leader, and I'm sure he's being driven to that by the team. Maybe necessity. Could have probably been any coaching staff. I'm not going to say that is Coach Frost, right? It's good having a younger coach. You can relate to them more. He has some swag. He has a suit with Jays at the media days. These are things that just are different. They're just different about Coach Frost. And I'm not saying he's one of one in the nation, but he's not one of many. There are not a lot of coaches that have his football background, have the ability to coach, right? We know that, and still can relate. In what is he? Was he 50 now? He's 50. And do I think he's still working out with some of the guys on the team? Possibly. Do I think he's playing pickup with them? Pickup basketball? Probably not. Do I think he's running plays with them? No, but I guarantee you if we have to go up against another run first wishbone like offense, he's going to probably play QB for that a little bit still too. A little bit. He is built different. And this isn't like glorification or anything like that. When we're in where we're at now, no salary caps, you can buy a team, you have a $55 million budget for football, this, that, and the other thing. There are some things you're going to have to do to differentiate in a market. Coach Frost has some of those intangibles. Now, does cash rule everything around me? Probably. But if we can keep some people who want to play in Florida, who want to have their families at games and not have to fly them everywhere, at least 6 home games, maybe 7. There are some things there. If you want someone who will probably play the music you listen to and enjoy it themselves at practice, if you want to play with someone who is probably played at a higher level than anyone on that field in college, right? There's only a few people that fit that mold, maybe one of very few. So I feel like, and I'll let Miles end the interview where there's a little bit more here, but those are the things we've been missing. And Coach Heupel was a good coach and had an insane scheme that did a lot of great things. And you see what he could do with money and the players in Tennessee now too. I think he was definitely being slept on a little bit, but it could have been a mix of a lot of things. There's definitely something to how this might work in the future, and to me, that is a dividend not here in this coming year. I think it might take more than 2, but being competitive in the top maybe 4 to 6 in the conference every year, 3, 4 years out, in a conference this deep, maybe he has the intangibles necessary combined with the funding and all the stuff that we can do our best as we can with to put some amazing teams on the field. And truth be told, for those who have the ability to get to the next level, prepare them well with the culture, with the character, with the fits to make sure they're getting good grades when it comes to the conversations they have and the things they're doing in the film room up when they're going to go through the NFL draft. Let's see if Miles has anything else to say. Well, I mean, sure he does, but not worthy of the conversation we're having right now. And Matt Berry actually has a great quote after that saying, "If you can get if you can get a if you can get one of the commentators to not commentators, if you can get one of the people that are in the costumes to say anything, you'll win anything or something like that." It is great. So everything's a competition. We talked about that a little bit on the podcast. Uh, Trying to make things competitive, trying to impart wisdom from others. Like you can see Miles, his mind is there, his mentality is there. Will he be able to execute? That's the 2025 season this year, my dear gentle viewer. That's it. We are going to build the culture. The Scott Frost is going to demand it. We are going to be accountable to the player to your left and your right. We're going to do things right. We're going to do things as sound as possible. Will we execute? That's to me is one of the bigger questions of the season. And yeah, so this is the thing. I don't. I'm hoping everyone can hear this because I'm unmuted. Roger just popped on the chat and said it's dead air, but I don't know. It says I'm live. It says I'm in the show, and I says I have my mic. So we're about to find out. I'm gonna keep going, and I can't even spell here when I'm trying to run the show. So that's where we're at, and we're really kind of excited about it. So we have a couple things that's basically the media days in a nutshell in less than an hour, as long as you can hear me. so that's kind of fun. And I'm hoping you heard all that interview. We're gonna see how it worked. So since we're live, I'm gonna go through a couple other things. what we might be doing this week, is having more than one show. So we have the media day recap, which is what we're doing. I love that softball and the fun fact of the week. Look, there are some other things from media days, but I try to pull out the things that were the most interesting to me and some of the things that I haven't seen anywhere else, because there's something brewing with the team in a positive way, and we'll see if that translates onto the field this coming year. So we have two other things we'll do. So usually talk about other UCF news. It sounds like we're going to have another show this week. And if we have another show this week, you're going to get all of that stuff with maybe me and the team. We're also going to talk more about other listener love, because I didn't prep that, and that's a Roger thing. And, he interacts more with that. So we're going to leave that to him. What we're going to do is the last two things that I usually do, because, well, I always prep for those. And we're going to talk about the sometimes funny fact of the week. And this is going to be new because I don't have anyone to talk to respond with the fact. We're going to leave that to you. What I'm going to do is ask a very basic question about UCF, FTU, and you are going to go and answer it in your minds out loud when you watch this. And if you don't, that's okay. We're going to put the answer in the show notes. Right, Noah? Right. So, simple question. Everyone should know this pretty much off the top of your head. Okay. What was the first day of classes at then Florida Technological University, now UCF? What was the first day of classes at FTU, which is now known as UCF? You might not know that off the top of your head. We're close to it. But it might not be the exact day you think. So check that out. If you know it off the top of your head, note it, then go to the show notes, see what you have there. Go to your favorite internet browser, search engine, or GPT and model, and find out and see if you're right. Maybe we'll run it back next week. And if we have another one, I have another interesting one related to that for either next week or the next podcast I'm on. Okay, and the one last thing that you absolutely know that you want to listen to from Josh, it's the thing I do every single time. It's the thing I update as often as I can. It's a quick update on other UCF sports that Alan does not watch. So obviously Alan does not watch UCF volleyball, and our volleyball team finalized their 2025 non-con schedule. It's pretty quick start. They have 3 home matches to start. There are 3 straight days of home matches at the venue. It's versus Chattanooga, Norfolk State, and UC Riverside. And that Norfolk State is the first match ever versus UCF. And we have one more of those actually in the non-conference schedule. That slate includes home games versus Arkansas State. Wonder where that came from. Brown and FAU. And Brown is another first-time game as well for the Knights. We have neutral site games at Miami versus Miami and Stetson in Miami. So that's a fun neutral site game. And we have a game versus Memphis in Tuscaloosa as a neutral site game, which would make sense because when our away games are versus FIU and Alabama. So you can see where the trips are going. There's going to be a trip down to Miami and Stetson, a neutral site game with a FIU away game. You can see the Knights going up to Tuscaloosa and having more than one game with Memphis and Alabama. And that's our non-con schedule for UCF volleyball, and Alan would never know that. This is a week after week update on softball. So softball adds West Orange High School's own and Orlando native outfielder Zoe Calvez. She was a member of the LSU's signing class in 2023, where she was the nation's number 9 overall recruit. She did appear in 7 games for LSU last year, and she's coming home. A quote that I found from UCFKnights.com, so thank you for getting that information to us and then out to you again if you didn't read it at UCFKnights.com. When the coaching staff at UCF first called me, they were super honest about everything they were looking for from me and the program, and aligned with what I wanted. Getting on campus made it 10 times better when I was getting to know everyone. And this is something that we've seen from Coach Ball. Like every single woman that is transferring in says they have a plan for me. They know exactly what they want to do and how I can grow. We talked about that last week, and when we're talking about, I'm doing a little scrolling to because my memory isn't crisp. Carly Joe Penner, same idea. She was like an everyday starter in 2024 from Kent State, and her goal, based off of the feedback of what she wants to do and with the team, was to develop her offense to her own full potential, and they had a plan for that. So I like this back to back softball transfers, people coming home, wrap that up in a bow because it's exactly what Scott Frost wants to do with football. Have a welcoming place for people who are from Florida, or in this case in Orlando, who want to come home and fit the character and the culture and the needs of the scheme of the team. Sound familiar? It works beyond football. So those are the two main things that are going on. If you want to do, there's a full recap of the 2024-2025 athletic season on UCFKnights.com if you'd like to take a look at that too. And we'll see what comes up next week, because we're definitely in the doldrums of sports or other sports news. I will tell you though, after these, there is a lot of football stuff and other things to actually talk about, and that will be with the whole team. Maybe I'll be there. Don't know. We'll see. But there is more to talk about this week. So we hope to have another episode, perhaps episode 93 for you coming up soon. So with that, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out with me. We'll get all the numbers on the back end. Somehow I made this into an hour plus show, but definitely not going to hit 2 hours unless I pontificate about something none of you probably care about. We always end with the Go Knights Charge On, and everyone gets together, and then I get to figure out how I talk after this. We'll see what happens now, but for now, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and Go Knights Charge On. And this is the time that I usually talk and see if anyone's paying attention, see if they cut off the show, because I don't know what happens if I leave the studio.